r/AskReddit by Reddit and chill. Successful people who got crappy grades in high school or college, what are you doing now and how did, or didn't, your grades affect your success career? I got really bad grades in both. When I was in my early 30s, I had a big chip on my shoulder about it and started taking college classes at large. One at a time. The motivation I had to do well in them was incredible. After a while of that, I was able to take my new transcripts and use them to get into grad school. No one cared that I had gotten poor grades 10 years earlier. As a college professor, I really think one of the biggest struggles for a good portion of my students, certainly not all, is a lack of maturity and not being in the right headspace for college in the 18-22-year-old age range. Most of them certainly have the intellectual capacity to do the work, though many are grossly underprepared. I truly wish more students would put off attending college until they have a better sense of what they want out of life. Rich kids can float through college and treat it like a 4-year party and be fine in life because their family and wealth will protect them from consequences. But poor, working class, and middle class kids really can't afford to take such an approach to their education. We do a big disservice by pushing college education on kids who aren't ready for it. Teach college and give other people bad grades. It's the circle of mediocrity. As far as the grades go, nobody looked at them after I graduated. Edit. Some people are asking questions. After I got sick of my office job, I got into tutoring. Then found a job in a private educational company. Once I've had enough experience, universities were offering me jobs. You don't need a PhD to be a university lecturer. For example, my family law class was taught by a practicing lawyer, not a full-time professor. How did you get to teach college with bad grades? Not super extremely rich, but I'm a plumber and I make as much as some of my software engineer friends. As someone who works in the construction law world, one of my favorite jokes. Once upon a time a very successful lawyer had a pipe burst in his house. So he called a plumber, who came over, fixed the pipe in 30 minutes, and handed a $500 bill to the lawyer. Outraged, the lawyer said, "I'm a lawyer and even I can't charge these kinds of rates." The plumber responds, "Neither could I when I was a lawyer." My parents never thought I would ever go to college. In fact, growing up, my brother always made honor roll and got really high test scores and got a full ride to college. My test scores were really low. My grades were very middle of the road and I was offered only $1,500 scholarship. So, not much. After dropping out and working a bunch of dead-end jobs in my 20s, I went back to school and tried again. No one thought I would finish. I ended up finishing 2 degrees in 5 years and now I work at a 4-year university on professional staff within academic affairs and I make quite a bit more than some of my peers. Everyone I work with assumes that I made stellar grades in high school. Where is your brother career-wise now? I was a very good pupil. Up until 10 years. Then it went from not great to pretty bad to awful to get that guy out of my school. I'm talking grades. I was not particularly well behaved all the time. Especially a bit confrontational when I had a feeling of injustice. But several of my teachers were still quite fond of my smartass. I ended up trying many different curriculums. Mostly IT stuff. Failed every single one of them up until the point I could do nothing more but start to search for a job. At 26. With my biggest diploma being the basic one everybody in my country pass at 17 or 18, and even that one I got at 22. At my 3rd attempt. Then as soon as I started to work, things felt much more real than at school. Much more fun and motivating. I started to find solutions to problems people didn't even knew they had. And after years of being the weird kid at school, I suddenly became rather well liked by all. It boosted my confidence. Playing with the systems upped my skills. And everything has been great ever since. I have now a very good position as a senior system engineer in a huge international structure. My bosses are very happy with my work. And I'm very happy to have the latitude to set myself most of my agenda. So, bad grades? It did not affect my career at all. Somehow. As a kid, I had that weird feeling that my grades weren't going to be important in the long run. And that's how it unfolded. I'm now rather proud of my accomplishments, especially as being so bad at school left so many people thinking I was dumb. And my apocalyptic grades add a nice backstory when discussing my career. Though I always stress, when talking about it with kids, that I have been extremely lucky, and that the probability of such a happy end when you suck that much in school are extremely low. Thank you so much. This was my reason for asking. I have a very bright but very academically unmotivated child who is perfectly happy to do the bare minimums or C's or F's, whatever. I got straight A's and was always told that grades matter. I stress so much about her future. I am more afraid she's learning to just get by satisfied with mediocrity. I lose sleep. We talk, beg, plead, threaten for her to try. We have funds and access to tutors. She just doesn't give a flip and this stresses me out so much for her future. I had some serious depression in college that tanked my grades. I managed to end up with a 3.0 GPA. But I failed several courses in my major. I pretty much had A's or F's. I did well enough and interviewed well enough that I got a job. It has mostly affected me in that I'm worried I won't get into a good graduate school program because of my crappy grades in my major. I haven't applied. But I know I would do well now that my mental health is in order and I know my grades don't show that. Graduate student here at a school I never thought I would get into. I went through the same thing in undergrad and ended up with a 2.9 GPA overall. The key to getting in is to be open about your mental health journey and how you have learned and grown. Just applying to graduate school is proof of that. And you should be proud. Talk to the admissions counselors and write every optional essay that is available. Went to for-profit college that didn't care about grades but also was world-renowned and had an incredible curriculum. Graduated college with a 2.7 GPA. Got my first job at a recording studio because I went to this school. Got a job at a radio station because even though my grades weren't great I know my stuff and even walked out of college with a few certs. Now, I run my own recording studio and have several other side hustles. Turns out I'm not dumb. Just have a problem with authority. I got C's in high school and failed out of college. Twice. I then joined the Marine Corps. Got out and used my GI Bill to get my bachelor's and master's degree. Successfully. I now work in a major corporation doing data analytics and logistics work and make a pretty great salary with tons of potential to make a lot more since my company only promotes from within at the levels I'm at. I'm also in the process of starting my side business that will hopefully go full-time in the next few years with some of my savings from my career. My family lives a very comfortable lifestyle with nice cars and a nice house. Although I did fail out of college twice, I did wind up getting 2 degrees. I just want people to know. Since a lot of former Marines always tell me this. Even if you aren't book smart or a school person, go get your damn degree. Especially if you have the GI Bill. I hated every second of school. Like despised it. But stuck through it. Even if you don't have the GI Bill. Student debt isn't as bad as Reddit makes it out. I had some from when I failed out of school. Twice. My wife has her master's degree and it more than pays for her student loans. We both worked full-time and got our degrees at the same time. With kids. Community colleges are cheap. And state schools aren't bad either. Just work hard. Put in more effort than those around you. And most of the time you'll succeed. Community colleges are cheap. And state schools aren't bad either. Just work hard. Put in more effort than those around you. And most of the time you'll succeed. My kids are young. But I have a handful of co-workers with high school age kids that are all coming to this realization. With what it costs to go even to state U. It makes a whole lot more financial sense to live at home and go to community college for 2 years and take advantage of the guaranteed transfer program that the vast majority of state university systems have. We're in Maryland. So cost of living means that even going in state means it's expensive. Living in College Park still costs $15-20k on top of tuition. Unless you are loaded or get into an Ivy League or equivalent like a Duke, Stanford, NYU, etc. There is really no reason to waste the money going to a private school. Same with out-of-state schools for the most part, you pay 3x as much in tuition as the local kids for the same education. I barely made it through high school. I failed biology and physics. I have degrees in biology and physics now. 6-figure salary. I stopped ducking off. Playing video games all day. Smoking pot. And chasing women. Be more specific please, would love to hear more. My husband had a bad time at school, illness, and left as soon as he was able. He went to university at 26 and is now a very successful programmer. Not too crappy but good enough to enter foundation of a medical school. Some of the peers scored 9s plus in the national high school exam and I'm the lowest A scorer among all, 3 As. Never failed any university year exams but didn't score too well either. Just enough to pass the exam. Currently waiting for government notice to work as an intern doctor. Emo grades are important but the path that you're going to take, hack of your dream, is even more important as it is the foundation where your future holds. I hold a bachelor's in marine science. With a concentration in wildlife biology. I had a job in my field over the summer and now I am working towards independent research work. High school? My grades were shit. I almost got held back a few times. Had to jump through all sorts of IEP hoops in order to graduate at all. Teachers were often instructed to outright waive certain assignments of mine due to my IEP. I spent more time in the nurse's office or counselor's office than actually in class. Never got involved in any clubs or extracurriculars because I just didn't have the energy, nor did I give enough of a shit about the school to get involved in anything. I hated the place and everyone in it with a burning passion. I graduated with a low average GPA and went straight to community college, which was required to accept all high school graduates in the county regardless of grades or GPA. I blossomed in community college and ended up in the School Honor Society. And got involved in tons of extracurricular and volunteer work. The college environment was nothing like high school and so was actually a suitable learning environment for me. I graduated with honors and ended up insta-admitted to my local state university based on academic performance. Cumulative 3.6 GPA at graduation. The university offered me instant admission into their grad program and I have until June 2020 to accept the offer or decline it. I don't know if my handicaps will allow me to handle a grad school schedule or workload. I had to have a lot of extra assistance just to get through uni but I made it. I like to brag that I made it through a bachelor's degree without ever taking the SAT or ACTS. You know. For teachers, students, parents who like to pretend you have no future if you fail your SAT. I recruited for Google for a while. The feeling of going to college campuses and telling students, especially overconfident or douchy ones, with double my GPA that they weren't quite Google material was better than nothing. I hated school so I never properly applied myself to it. Started working as a gardener within a week of graduating at 16 and have been a gardener ever since. The main qualities that have helped me in my career is my attention to detail and work ethic. I'm self-employed, work with my dad now, but it's not unusual for us to work 12+ hour days but we reap the rewards. Most of our work is contracted and is either luxury housing, hotels or public sites like galleries and museums etc which we get headhunted for. We even worked and were credited on a gold winner at the Chelsea Flower Show a few years back. Business has been steady for the past 8 years but we've finally got our big break this year and have tripled our company's yearly income. All in all, I think grades have very little to do with success in the trade field. It's more about quality and work ethic. I did great through high school. Got into an Ivy League college. Did very poorly due to ongoing depression and treated ADHD. Graduated in 5 years by the skin of my teeth. Switched majors a bunch of times till I landed at environmental science. Spent 3 years searching for anything related to my field while working my way up to assistant manager at my local Starbucks. Got hired by an environmental consulting firm who was interested in the management experience I had and just cared that I'd graduated. Not what my grades were. Did well there for 3 years. Got promoted. Moved out of state to a different company. Did well there but didn't enjoy it. Now I'm an assistant project manager at a major environmental consulting firm and love my job. Moral of the story. Do well no matter what your job is. You never know what might be useful later. Oh, I can actually weigh in on this one. It'll probably get buried, but if it reaches one student who it helps, it's worth it. So I was an absolutely horrible student. Very much one of those why would I do homework when the alternative is to not do homework and get a C anyway kind of kids. This continued throughout school, into state university, and eventually ending with getting a degree in business management because online courses are a joke and you can just Google the answer to every online test question on your phone. Anyway, I got a decent job in my field. Networked. Got a better job in my field. Networked. And now make almost 6 figures a year. And you know what? I'm miserable. As it turns out, there was a reason why I didn't want to do homework and couldn't remain focused in class and had to literally cheat my way through university. I wasn't interested in what I was studying. My thoughts were that as long as I made enough money to do what I liked, what I did 9-5 every day would be worth it. Nope. It's soul crushing to go into work every day and be bored for 8-9 hours until you leave. It's terrible and it affects every part of your life. Worse, it sets you up for failure because eventually you will simply stall out. Why would you go above and beyond when the thought of even doing the baseline makes you want to vomit in disgust and apathy? So the question needs to be, why are you getting C's? Is it because you genuinely don't care about the subject matter? Good. Use that. You've just eliminated another route that would lead you to where I am. Hate writing. Don't be a writer. Hate adding numbers to each other 200 times a day. Don't be an accountant. Hate studying. Don't be a doctor or a lawyer. C students aren't underachievers or lazy. C students are a group of people who don't find maths, writing, or research, memorization, to be interesting or engaging. I would much rather make half of what I make now, which would still let me live pretty comfortably, doing something I actually enjoy than making what I do now waiting to get fired because, once again, but in a more professional environment. Why would I do homework when the alternative is to not do homework and get a C anyway? Ducking like and subscribe.